Oh, welcome, welcome. Nice to meet you here in the Voice from Heaven in our class series of episode Perfectly Safe Forever. And this is here live on Spreaker.com and on YouTube. And yeah, just welcome for joining and giving it a moment and consideration of looking how we want to experience ourselves and what we came about in our transformation, what we have passed in our transformation. We came a long way, we always say, right? And this is a true thing. And so even in this small calendar episodes, I'm talking since beginning of November about connections with social, political issues that come up through here the US presidential elections or any other um, notices that come in our mind and give us opportunity for the healing of ourselves. And that opportunity of healing I will always welcome. As long as I perceive something in time and space, I'm fully aware that I'm here in a learning situation, and that learning involves my own thought forms, my own belief systems. And it is exactly those belief systems that we are asked by the Holy Spirit, by Christ's mind walking with us, to question, to look at them, and to really let them be replaced by alternatives. So this is a mind training, and it is a mind training of A Course in Miracles, and it is a mind training given me personally, given you, in order to come to completely new perspectives of seeing yourself, seeing the world in a new light, seeing everything, everyone, and everything differently. That's how it is expressed. And this is the welcome that we give to ourselves. This is the welcome that we give to our own mind, to the entire world, in that perspective, in that acceptance of that guiding instruction. Let's question our belief systems. Let's question what anybody else decides for us, or what would want to decide for us, and gives us concepts, and demonstrating them or making them, trying to make them real or true, giving them a touch of truth, so that the conceptual ego mind would jump on that, would ride that wave, and would eventually be happy with that truth. This was exactly the point that brought me to A Course in Miracles. I wasn't happy and content anymore with with my own personal truths, with those concepts made up, coming from the past. And I might just take here a very practical approach and share with you 3 examples, okay? So that we can really see that this power that we have in our mind, which is a power of thinking freely, of changing our mind to new perspectives, is the power of forgiveness, is the power of love, of which the Course in Miracles, every awakened mind expresses that, speaks in one or another way, and lives it. It is this extension of love and light and peace that in which we feel attraction, that we can sense, in which we unify our mind and let it unify, so that we recognize, oh my God, yes, minds are one, minds are in union all the time, and they are already unified, because there is only one mind, and that is creative mind. But coming back to some examples, because that's exactly where this power of the change, the power of correction, the power of forgiveness is experienced, is exactly in our daily affairs, in our thought forms as they come in, how we perceive constantly a meaningless world, right? And that perceiving a meaningless world is really perceiving yourself, right? You're perceiving your own path. You could say, well, the past is obviously revisiting me, yes, but it's not really revisiting you. It's always in your mind, and you just let it open up, or you just let the door open so that the cat can jump into your face, or however you want to express that. You know, that it's waiting for you. In other words, it's waiting for us that we give it a chance and allow it to play on us. But if we go along with these instructions as Jesus gives them to us, in this mind training, in this change, in a complete change of how to see ourselves and everyone, then of course there is an awareness faster and already there before the ego can hit you and can sell you another limited concept. So I'm looking here at three examples that are happening practically in my mind, and I want to share them with you and then see how we come in the application of the lesson for the day, which is 333, that the forgiveness ends the dream of conflict here, and gives us a very clear perspective what we have to do, you know, in order to come to that forgiving experience, healing, corrective experience in our mind. And I'm looking first to the situation that happens in many, many countries. So also here in the United States of America, due to the presidential elections. But you can also see those appearances in many other countries, you know, and it is mostly an appearance of, how would I say, of an expression of behavior and personal expression of leaders or considered being leaders of the country. And that could go through all levels of political leaders also. No? But you will find certain patterns and maybe certain levels of understanding and recognition of your perception very similarly in in many personalities. So I see, or I have perceived, the tendency of a leader here and being literally surrounded and enveloped by a crowd of followers. No? So it looks like a fan club. And I'm not just reducing it to a membership or a fan club on Twitter, no? Because you can have, if you are kind of provocative and you want to push buttons, you can have on Twitter millions of followers, and they do have it. So I'm looking here at a leader identity or a leader position as it is demonstrated to the world and perceived or even accepted. But if we were already talking about that in the previous episodes, that we have to come to not taking any position, but really claim that the only leader is the Christ within ourselves. I'm not gonna go into details of that. We already have covered that, and we're already accepting that. But I'm gonna use that perception, that objective reality of seeing a leader with surrounded by many, many followers. And you could even say it looks like a cult, yeah? And it does look like a cult, but what is really a cult? You know, the whole world is a cult in truth. No? So I make here an emphasis of an idea of idolization. You know, a leader that has a fan club is for sure idolized for certain characteristics that he expresses in his rhetoric, in his way of thinking, in his expressions, in his behavior, etc., etc. And there's one quality also that this type of fan clubs, I will call them, because we have it in sports also, of course. No? It's not just on the political level. And what they have in common is that they actually, in their expression, tend to overlook everything that is in the negative, everything that splits the mind. And there's also something that gives us in our learning a new perspective. And we're touching that regularly and talking about the power to look through or the power to overlook everything. And eventually that is what forgiveness is, to overlook everything. But if I'm gonna start with or wanna apply that lesson 333, that forgiveness ends the dream of conflict here, and it already starts out that conflict must be resolved, and conflict cannot be evaded, set aside, denied, disguised, seen somewhere else, called by another name, or hidden by deceit of any kind if it would be escaped. So the question is, first of all, do I want to escape the conflict? Do you, brother? You know, yes, I want to escape the conflict. Okay, then conflict must be seen. Listen very carefully how he expresses it in this lesson. This is the voice of Jesus Christ, okay? It must be seen exactly as it is. It must be seen exactly as it is. And it must be seen where it is thought to be, where, which means the causation is here touched, in my own mind, in your own mind, and it must be seen in the reality which has been given it, right, with this application of meanings, which can also be an application of the meaning, well, that doesn't count, but look at the opposite political guys, that counts, and those are the guys who drink the blood of babies and pedophiles and so on. This is just one example. On one side there's forgiveness applied, but on the other side there's accusation and crucifixion. We cannot do it that way. We have to do it totally, or we have to first go step by step and do this inventory of mind, do this work of the program in order to make some progress and come beyond the belief system. And he says then further, so it must where it is thought to be, and in the reality which has been given it, and it must be seen with the purpose that the mind accorded it. Because the purpose that the mind accorded it is obviously, let's say, influencing. We have now in this last decade all the influencers who make some commercial for anything. It could be any idea of our mind, and they basically educate you or manipulate you towards a different or a positive attitude to what is offered or presented. And it's not about selling cosmetics or selling any items. It's also, we all are influencers, because an influencer is actually a form of teaching. So the question will always be, what is it you want to teach? Teach as demonstrating. What is it you want to demonstrate? Because what you demonstrate is what you will believe and comes from your own belief systems. So if you teach anything that is not in alignment or in accordance with the truth, you will at the end only deceive yourself, and you will get a result of your own thinking, because there is only one mind. And if there is a limitation being shared, it will come back and show up as a limitation, and it will be experienced as pain. And we know it all. We know it through millions of years in relationships that we have had with everyone and everything in our mind. And then he concludes this first paragraph of that lesson. For only then are its defenses lifted, and the truth can shine upon it as it disappears. So it is It is about lifting defenses, and the truth can shine upon it as all those limitations disappear. So I've just started out with the one example, and I called it the fan club of leaders of the idol, and the form of limited or one-sided uh, action of forgiveness. That's really how we were holding it for thousands of years, because it was in the battlefield. It was like, okay, I forgive myself and my fellow soldiers and fighters for that we are killing other people, but we are not forgiving the enemy against whom we are fighting. Those guys deserve our punishment or deserve any punishment, best coming from God, right? As if God would take part in such a war, We are just childish thinking and way of believing. It's amazing. So we are looking here about this staying in the mode of separation, and yet having leaders, or having a leader that is completely untouched by critic or questioning within one's own mind. And this is not the Course in Miracles. The Course in Miracles teaches us and directs us to question everything that we see. That is a different level. Do you see that? Because questioning everything I see doesn't only mean that I also question the things I like and see in my dream, in my world, but I start out questioning myself and my own belief systems. And this is inevitable. We all are here to question our own belief systems. And unless we do, we will be deceived, and we will continue to deceive ourselves. But there's something going on, in our higher mind that is really showing us that the choice for not deceiving ourselves, but really going only for the truth, which is really only in the alignment with God's mind. And so listening to the voice of the Holy Spirit, who is not guiding us and telling us preferences in a dream of opposition, and that why don't you do, or why don't you vote, or why don't you stick with that guy, because you there's more priority for you, or more advantage for you in that. No, it's a questioning of every single image and thought that we hold in our mind. And this is what I teach myself. Now, I'm going to give you also two other practical examples, which might be quite interesting in the application and look like they would be completely different. The one is that that we are in this weekend, starting with after Thanksgiving Day, there's Black Friday, and we are proceeding now over the weekend to Cyber Monday, and it's the main event of saving the economy by by buying lots of things and filling up the treasure house with the gifts of the world. So, which means also to satisfy one's own and everyone's desires. And that fulfillment of desires is based on lack and need, what I would need or what I believe I lack. And so it comes also to a belief in thought forms that are considered then as normal or natural without questioning them. A Course in Miracles inquires us, indicates us that we inquire into our belief systems, into our desires. It doesn't mean to reject them, right? But it does mean that we do exactly how we were just sharing it in the lesson. We do question it and do localize the causation, the source of from where it comes from and with which ideas it is interconnected. because at some point you know that it will keep you here within your dream, within separation, on the timeline. And you know also that that escape or leaving time space is your own self-recognition of knowing that you already have everything. You have been given everything, and there isn't anything that you would really need from this world, from your world of separation. So it is also that recognition that what the word represents doesn't really have any value that you want, that I want, right? And there are many, many lessons about that, and it's very, very important. But I'm going to use that example as a very practical example, because an expression or an going for the fulfillment of one's own desires doesn't really question the source of that desire. It just goes for it, and we see that in all our expressions of our special relationships. And so we have also with things of the world special relationships. Now, here is also the object of desire is becomes an idol. So it's also a learning or a questioning of how idols are held in the mind. Now, another demonstration of an idol and what that does is, and how it is not questioned, is how we, everybody who is a little bit into sports information, and even if you're not into sports, you might have heard that a great figure in soccer, European football or South America, he is Argentinian, Diego Maradona, has passed on. He went into heaven, right? And so he has quite a life story, and I remember it very well in the 1980s. And even starting with 78, when the Argentinians won the soccer world championship, and his highlight of his career as a soccer player in other languages we call it football, right? It was his career peak, and he was really some kind of a figure. He was like an amazing player, and amazing in the sense of extraordinary skills. Like how he played, you can hardly compare him with any other players. Well, saying that on the side and having that meaning in my mind as a very valuable figure on the sport in my sports world. Now, well, okay, he passed. He had also a life with a lot of drugs and I don't know what, but there were always some kind of problems around him in his personal life after his career. And well, he transitioned now. Now, what happened was that Argentina is also under the COVID restrictions and lockdown and whatever you could imagine. And out of a sudden, there are not just thousands, there are millions of people all over the country and all over the world out on the streets and demonstrating their feelings for their idol Diego Maradona. And it shows me also how the mind in the moment there is a trigger set with an idolization or with feelings, personal feelings to an idol, the reasonable mind kind of shuts down. And anything that is reasonably in the expression becomes either forgotten or overturned. And that shows also that the mind doesn't really think reasonably, which would mean be open for correction and questioning one's own feelings in that sense, um, to the death of this great figure Maradona, but is also in an active expression of limited thought form. In that sense, it became a real demonstration of the meaning of death. Because why would you go on the street and demonstrate for somebody who passed on, to celebrate their past, unless you really think that death has struck and has a reality. And so there's, in each of those examples, we have the same lessons offered, being offered. And those same lessons are, to repeat it again, not just to make an inventory in our mind and to question our belief systems and the thoughts and feelings and emotions and all the meanings that we have given them, but also to come to an experience that allows us to go beyond the appearance. And that experience of going beyond appearances is really what forgiveness offers us. And so this lesson says it very blatantly, that forgiveness ends the dream here. And it is a dream of conflict. It is a dream of separation. It is a dream of death. It is a dream of unfulfilled desires. And there is a learning curve that is given each and every one to us. And of course, the moment we have a full experience of forgiveness that includes ourselves and doesn't make exceptions with anyone or anything, then the learning curve is finished, is over, is accomplished. And you can really live in that safety that is offered you through that action of forgiveness. And you can really feel the peace and presence of God within yourself. And you can really acknowledge and realize and recognize that you're free because you have done the homework. And that homework has shown you that the voice of God through the Holy Spirit in you is really guiding you all the time. There's not a single instant in which it would not be accessible and not be available. He is present in you, literally as you, for all times. And this is eternity. This cannot be lost. And then we just join in the prayer, and I'm just gonna here use and might give you a few other examples how it is stated in the beginning of the course. But in the prayer section of this lesson 333, we are turning to our Father in heaven. We are turning to the source within ourselves. And we say, Father, forgiveness is the light that you chose to shine away all conflict and all doubt and light the way for our return to you. And we have now elaborated on that, and we can add on, and Father, forgiveness is the light you chose to shine away all our thoughts in separation, all our limitations that we would hold dear and still defend, that you shine away all our idolization thoughts, that all thought forms that make differences and favor on one side and reject on the other side, and to shine them away for our return home, for our return to God. And no light but this can end our evil dream. Evil means egoically seen, perceived, and understood dream. Those are the thoughts, how we believe that we know who somebody is, what we see, what it is. That's really what the evil dream is, the dream of separation, is the dream in which the ego has the say and is adored for its offers, for its meager offers, the littleness that is offered. No light but this can save the world. It is only the light of God that opens those core belief systems, and with our acceptance shows us that there's nothing really there. For this alone will never fail in anything, being your gift to your beloved Son. The gift to his beloved Son, who is you, who is me. And I have here in that context another quite interesting story. I found that on Facebook. I actually even posted it on my Facebook page. And it is an experiment that was scientifically taken. And the experiment was that they put 8 monkeys into a room. And in the middle of the room, there was a letter stationed, and was hanging on a hook was a bunch of bananas. And so in order to get to the bananas, the monkeys would need to climb up the ladder, grab the banana. Now, what happened was every time a monkey was climbing up the ladder, the experiment was set up the way that it would shower ice water on all of the monkeys. So they learned very fast that climbing on the ladder in order to reach the bananas would be punished with a shower of ice waters. So what happened was that in that learning process, when one of the monkeys wanted to climb up the ladder, another monkey or the rest of the monkeys starting to hit them, to hit the crap out of them, basically. And so each one of them who didn't believe in that would be beaten up by the other monkeys. Now they started replacing monkeys. They took one monkey out of this 8 group and set in a new monkey who didn't know about what would happen. So of course that monkey would also try to climb up the ladder. And again, what actually the monkeys did were, so that they're not gonna get showered with ice water, was starting immediately when he intended to climb up the ladder to beat the crap out of him. And so they started not just replacing one and another monkey, but so that monkey who got beaten up wouldn't even know why, because he had no experience of being showered with ice water. And all other monkeys joined into that beating. They still had the experience of the ice water. Now, more and more monkeys were replaced, and with, let's say, with the second replacement of that monkey, of a new monkey, and again, the other monkeys with the experience started beating up that new monkey, but also the monkey who had not the experience of ice water was joining them, beating up that new monkey. And that happened even when they replaced all 8 monkeys. They replaced all 8 monkeys with new monkeys who had no experience of what would happen by climbing up the ladder. None of those monkeys were punished with a shower of ice water, and yet all of them would participate in the beating up the new guy who wanted to climb up. So that shows us that there is in the mind really, how should I call it, a tendency of wanting to to simply follow certain laws, or however they are implied, without questioning them. Those monkeys had no idea what was going on or why it was going on, the beating. They simply participated in it. And so this is called in psychology profiling, and to establish a profile. And now if we look what has been established as profiles unto our society is pretty much everything that we consider education. And it's not just religions and traditions, how ethnic traditions, right? But of course also, this is now used also, this profiling, on the level of politics. And probably it already happened, and now just through the social medias we really become aware what is going on, because there's such a possibility, such an opportunity to manipulate people on a very broad level. And all that it is about, and what the learning is that unless you question your actions, you question what you experience, what you believe that you have understood, you haven't really made it your own experience, and so it becomes a uniformed experience, a collective experience that has been enforced by literally outside authority. And so in our awakening process, and that directive and instruction as they are given to really question all of your belief systems, all of your experiences, it is a perspective of first coming from an isolated personal individual experience that is the basis of your decision making, and how you determine how you want to live, how you want to experience yourself. And this is the only way, it is, if you just go and you believe what anybody else has experienced, and you just believe and take it on, and if we have really no idea on which level of psychology influencing and manipulation occurs, like unless you study that and you're part of that. I see it all the time in certain expressions of documentaries of people who were part of certain manipulative procedures, if it is for elections or for whatever type of selling an opinion. We have no idea. It's and there's a lot of experiments going on also, because of course it is about power of psychology. And so here I'm coming back again to that power of forgiveness in the understanding how A Course in Miracles is taught and understood, cannot favor one illusion for another illusion, cannot stay in an opposite way of perceiving and thinking and let one way go ahead. And it's not possible. We have to, in that sense, question everything in order to be sane or remain sane in our mind. And that is only possible if we question all our perceptions, all our thoughts. Now, in the Course in Miracles, in the very beginning, in the first chapter, where we have the miracles principles presented right away, in the 21st principle, Jesus gives us the principle that miracles are natural signs of forgiveness. Miracles are natural signs of forgiveness. And that miracle is the living and understanding of the correction in our own mind. And through miracles, you accept God's forgiveness by extending it to others. See, it's an extension of God's forgiveness, the term means God doesn't forgive because he hasn't condemned. There is still everything perfectly in peace, at peace in his mind. And to extend that truth, which is really to go beyond all opinions and all favoring statements and belief systems. Now, in the 25th miracles principle, he says then that miracles are part of an interlocking chain of forgiveness, which, when completed, is the atonement, is that correction, is the undoing process. And that atonement works all the time and in all the dimensions of time. And I'm going to go to the 27 miracles principle, where it says a miracle is a universal blessing from God through me, through Christ, to all my brothers. And it is the privilege of the forgiven to forgive. This is your privilege, brother. You have the privilege as being forgiven to forgive and to demonstrate that the forgiveness doesn't exclude certain persons or certain illusionary images, but it is a totality of a new way of seeing, a new way of sharing, because it's about the vision of Christ. We are gaining the vision of Christ. And so that I have one more quote that is then in the second section, in the third paragraph, where he says, the forgiven are the means of the atonement, and being filled with spirit, they forgive in return. So in that action, in that experience of forgiveness, we again restore and reopen that treasure house in which we feel that power of spirit, because we forgive unequivocally everything, everyone. It's there is no levels anymore. We don't see any need or any value in keeping differences, keeping level confusion as something that would either threaten us or favor that. Yeah, and we see how much fear is in the world right now, through all the learning processes that are offered. And he says further that those who are released must join in releasing their brothers. You see, it's not, we cannot make categories, and release means to free them up of the meaning that we have given them. And that is a release. It's a complete freeing up. So in releasing their brothers, in releasing everyone in your mind, for this is the plan of the atonement. And miracles are the way in which minds that serve the Holy Spirit unite with me for the salvation or release of all of God's creation. I will read that sentence once again, because it sums it up all very well. Miracles are the way in which minds that serve the Holy Spirit unite with me for the salvation or release of all of God's creations. And that is, you see, there's the choice. Do you want to join with a mind that is not confined and not heirs here, is not part of the dream sequence, doesn't favor any illusion of the dream for another one, but is really demonstrating whole mind, perfect mind, your own mind out of time. And this is Jesus Christ himself, right? This is Christ's mind. This is the invisible spirit mind that we trust, that we acknowledge, and with whom we unite. This is a choice. You choose every moment if you want to unite with the perfection of Christ, or if you want to unite with some limitation of some self hallucinated byproduct called the ego, and giving you just another perceptive objective reality. As you see, it becomes kind of clear and obvious what our choices are. And in truth, you have already chosen, you have already taken that decision. And that decision is for a complete experience of unified thought system, of mind in union with Him, with God Himself. God is the mind with which we think. We do not think private thoughts. We do not have our own little mind that that would be an alternative to God. Okay, that's only in our insanity we held dear, and now in our sanity we let it be replaced. And the way is paved with those instructions given us, as given in this mind training of A Course in Miracles. Forgiveness ends the dream of conflict here. Forgiveness ends everything here that is kept in littleness, in separation, that is seen still as something, as an objective reality, because the truth of us, of you, of me, is subjective reality. This is what God is. So this is all I have for you today. And if you have any questions, please write it as a comment in the chat, or contact me personally. And I'm very happy to share His mind with you and receive your sharing His mind with me. And just expressing immense gratitude. This is being grateful beyond a one day of a Thanksgiving day. And just knowing that on the way out of time space, there is just gratitude that we share, and gratitude that we feel, and gratitude that we express as who we are. Thank you. Thank you so much. I love you with all my heart, and I wish you the best on this, in this training program, in this being active of coming to an acknowledgement of complete unification of thoughts. Thank you. Bye bye.